If you like this episode, please rate the podcast 5 stars 6 and take it home. This podcast is a member of Bun Collective.
Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. And this is the MTG Show Podcast, a wrestling podcast. It's Friday. You know what that means. Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. And this is the MTG Show Podcast, a wrestling podcast. Today is December 16. Lagi na akong December, buwisit. Today is December 16, 2022. It's Friday. And you know what that means. Today is the Bash Awards 2022. Before we go to our Bash Awards proper, we're going to discuss a lot of things in pro wrestling. Of course, we need to. Pero don't worry, di naman to hahaba na kasing haba ng mga episodes ko every single year. Now, so, kung natatandaan nyo, yung Bash Awards ko last year was longer than the 2020 because of the news. And walang different to. Kasi we have to. We have informations we're going to discuss in a bit. First, again, we want to congratulate the new MWF World Champion in the name of Fabio Makisig. I hope that we can invite him on the show probably next year. No? I hope that we can do an episode together. Ayun, I hope. I hope that we can do an episode together probably this year or next year. And for the sake of our new MWF champion, of course, ayan, we're celebrating the life. And of course, pro wrestling. Congratulations, by the way, to all of the wrestlers and all of the backstage, lahat ng technical crews, and all of the behind the scenes, behind the MWF. Of course, to Veronica, to Sanigo, the rest of the MWF team for their successful MWF Noche Buena. Ayun. So, today is our final episode of the year. Also will serve as our season finale of the MTG Show Podcast. Alam niyo naman na ganito tayo lagi sistema natin. Nag-season ulit tayo nung ako'y nag-transfer sa Bunk kasi we need to. And now, we're ending that season. No? So, kumbaga, new era is coming January. Same format. Walang magbabago sa format natin. Kasi wala naman babaguhin. In the end of the day, we are the only wrestling podcast in the Philippines who does straight up commentary here on the podcast. Of course, unbiased commentary. Ay dinidiin ko siya as soon as possible. Kasi ayoko talaga maging bias as soon as possible. And totoo natin ginagawa yun. Hindi tayo bias. As much as possible, di talaga tayo nagiging bias. Yun ang kauna-unahan nating virtue dito eh. Yung hindi maging bias. Okay. So today, again, ulitin natin. Dami kong sinasabi. Today is our final episode of the year. Our first half of this episode will be a usual podcast proper. Kasi marami tayong i-discuss na naiwan from the prelude of our podcast. Pasensya na, di ko na nasama doon. Kasi ang daming stuff na nangyari. 15 minutes almost of that episode was dedicated to Mandy Rose. So, marami-rami yon. And we have to extract that part to today's episode. So, di na kayo makakarinig sa akin ng thoughts on this episode on the Mandy Rose situation. Also, as promised last month, we are going to do a Disney Plus prelude or review. Usapan natin together here on our first half of the show. Okay. So before we go to our first half, I want to promote some stuff. So first, I hope you all can follow us on social media at the MTG Show Pod. And don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel at the MTG Show Pod. Ayun, www.youtube.com/at the MTG Show Pod. You can donate and support the podcast on Gank as low as $1 a month. Pwede yan via GCash. As low as $1 a month, you can access to our stuff here on our podcast. Donate. You pwede din donate, syempre, dito sa ating platform. You can use GCash as well as your payment platform. And of course, you can join our discussions. For more podcasts, of course, visit our network, thebongph.com. You can support us on The Bong Collective, all of the socials at The Bong PH. And of course, this podcast is available on all of the podcast platforms and on the podcast app. And that's it. We're going to discuss more in our third half. Okay? So, we have the information. We have breaking news as posted on Fightful earlier today, 6 a.m. Manila time. This news was posted on their Patreon and we're going to read this to all of you right now. So, Fightful reports that the end of Sasha Banks WWE contract was orchestrated this summer as Rajgiri of Wrestle Inc. reported. She can officially take bookings or wrestling-related bookings after January 1, 2023. And also, Fightful reported that the Wrestle Kingdom 17 appearance is a go. No? New Japan. Walang sinabing kung saan. Pero ang possible kasi, the nearest possibility is Wrestle Kingdom 17. And also, to add, na tawag dito, wala pang discussions between AEW and Mercedes or Sasha. So, thoughts ko lang naman, I'm good with this. We are looking for dream matches, especially on Stardom side of things. Marami tayong nilook forward, hindi na natin isa-isahin. Then, it's gonna be a fun run for Mercedes if you're going to ask me if eventually magpupunta rin siya ng AEW. There's gonna be a lot and it's gonna be a nice run for Mercedes for sure. I'm still hoping na hindi pumunta ng AEW si Mercedes. Yeah. Sobrang bloated na kasi nung division ng AEW. Tapos hindi pa magamit ng tama. Sana lang. Pagdasal nyo na lang. Samahan nyo ako mag-prayer meeting. Sabay-sabay tayong magdasal. Huwag sanang pumunta si Sasha Banks sa AEW. Ewan, seryoso ko dito. Hindi sa ayaw ko kay Tony Khan o sa AEW. Siguro, I'm tired of. Ang dami ng sa roster ng AEW. For fuck's sake, man. We don't need a bloated roster. We need a quality roster. going back. So, continue na tayo. Let's start a discussion na on our recap on all of the programmings before we go to our official proper since di na ako ganong pag dito, no? So, let's start with WWE. So, we got the Usos versus Brawly Brutes for the tag team titles on SmackDown. Wala namang ganong exciting on SmackDown. Medyo pangit din yung celebration ni Kurt Angle. Aminin na natin yon. Ayun, so let's talk about the Usos versus Brawly Brutes from from SmackDown for the undisputed titles. And for me, that was fun match. That was a really good matchup to deal with kasi alam niyo naman na Usos, they're proving themselves that they're the best tag team on the planet, and there's a lot of proof that we can give recognition, lalo na't maraming tag teams ngayon ang nagdidikdikan on the rankings, lalo na dun sa mga PWI na ranking na yan. There's a lot. Briscoes, FTR, Pretty Deadly. There's tag team a few. No, ang dami nun. Pero di natin maisa-isa. No? So, yeah. That was a fun match for me. Then we get few matches for Raw. We have the number one contendership, Bayley versus Alexa Bliss, with the winner will face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title in the near future. Wala pang announced the date. So, Alexa Bliss defeated Bayley. Then, she was congratulated by Bianca Belair. May nag-shake hand sila pero nag-glitch yung screen, yung Titantron. It was glitching na Bray Wyatt. And medyo nag-hallucinate si Alexa Bliss. She was thinking na she's gonna hit the sister Abigail. Then she insisted to, but binawi niya din. Medyo weird pa yung pagtitis nila dito. Pero let's see in the next couple of weeks if kung ano yung mangyayari on this build-up nila. So, also to add, both Gable versus Styles and Asuka versus Rhea Ripley was fantastic as hell. Yun, add natin. So, on this week's episode of Raw, if you're going to notice, wala nang paint si Asuka. Wala nang face paint. Parang sobrang konting makeup na lang yung nasa kanya. And in-acknowledge ng commentary, especially Corey Graves, yung mga tweets ni Asuka. So, it means something that they are teasing a long time, and maybe they are teasing that we're getting something here, no? We're going to get something in the near future, or we are getting things to look forward for the next year, or maybe this year since we have 2 more episodes of Raw and SmackDown. 3 pa ata, di tanda. Whatever. Pero, yeah, that was a really good piece by WWE in our case. Then, we got the main event, Lashley versus Seth Rollins in a number 1 contendership for the United States Championship. Since wala pa ding world title, so we are acting like Austin Theory is the main champion of Raw right now. Ayun, tuloy natin. So, Bobby Lashley lose the match. Seth Rollins defeated Lashley. And then, after nun, Lashley was fired by Adam Pearce. And Lashley got pissed. Alam mo yung nakakatawa dito? So, nag-post si Adam Pearce ng video about the statement that he said a few nights ago na he wants to apologize to Lashley on the language that he used on him. That was great. That was great as fuck. That was hindi ko ma-imagine yung yung hindi ko na talaga maseryoso si Adam Pearce since alam niyo naman nagpo-post siya ng Rick Roll sa wall niya. Ewan ko, di ko rin talaga siya seryoso on his stuff, especially on his Twitter account. Okay, let's go now to NXT. NXT was fun. Aside from the Mandy Rose title change that we discussed yesterday on the pod, let's talk about the more happenings that happened on NXT prior to that title change. First, we get the promo between Grayson Waller and Roxanne Perez. So Roxanne Perez opened NXT. Grayson Waller interrupted Roxanne Perez. He ignored Roxanne. And ayun, lumabas si Braun Breaker. Then, he chased Grayson Waller. Tapos, inatake siya ni Mandy Rose. And yun na nga, we got the match for later on between Mandy Rose and Roxanne Perez. Then, we got this, we're getting set up for NXT New Year's Evil maybe. Hindi ko na sabihin yung spoiler. Pero, based on this week, and for the past few weeks, we are getting maybe a triple threat between Wesley, Tony D'Angelo, and Dijak for the North America Championship at NXT New Year's Evil. We're probably getting that on the show. I would love to see this triple threat soon as Vengeance Day, pero mukhang mapapaaga. So I'm good with this. Then, ayun, New Day. They gave a title shot to Briggs and Jensen as they proclaimed to the flag of the United States of America. you know what's funny about this gimmick na New Day? Yeah, whack yun. Whack yun para sa mga casual fans. Maybe sabihin nyo yun, whack. Okay? But in the New Day gimmick, it works. No? Itong mga ganitong kagaguhan ng New Day, mag-work out to. Kasi, it's the New Day. Diba? Kasi, New Day is New Day. Itong mga ganitong kagaguhan, mag-work out to them. And obviously, inaasar nila yung Pretty Deadly about this, diba? Then, we have, tawag pa dito? We have more information, speaking of the titles, that where sources probably we're going to get updated titles for Roxanne, for Braun Breaker, for the tag champs, women's side. Sino nga ito? Nakalimutan ko. 2KC, sila Katana, sila Wesley. We are getting updated titles soon as next week or maybe next year na sa New Year's Evil. We're going to get updated belts. And plano daw nilang i-drop na yung tawag dito. They are planning to drop the rainbow concept noon 2.0 sa mga championships. I'm good with this. Sana lang di nabaguhin yung concept ng straps. Black for the men, white for the woman. I'm good with that. Okay? Then, we have the debut of Lyra Valkyria, also formerly known as whatever it is. Yeah, I'm serious on this. Fuck. Yan. Nangyari. Yan. Nangyari sa bike ko. Shit. Yun. Anyways. Nangyari sa microphone ko. So, continue natin kay Lyra Valkyria or also known as whatever it is. I'm serious with this. Medyo anong binabago? Anong changes nito? Anong pinagkaiba nito doon sa old gimmick niya sa NXT UK? Wala. Kaya nga tinawag ko whatever it is, hindi ko kilala. Dahil wala lang akong pakialam. That's simple. That's my explanation for that. Regardless, okay, let's continue with the good stuff. We have the main event, Mandy Rose versus Roxanne Perez. I said this on yesterday's podcast na medyo na-upset pa rin ako on how weak the finisher of Roxanne Perez is. Well, yung pop rocks. Same with Code Red kay Selena Vega. Sobrang weak din nun. Mas weak pa nga yung kay Roxanne sa totoo lang. Pero I hope both Roxanne and Selena can find new finishers on their arsenals. Kasi it feels parang ang cheap nung finisher. Sa totoo lang. Hindi ako wrestler, pero on the way we watch wrestling on TV and when they execute the finishers, it looks weak. No? Okay. So, yun lang naman. It's so nice to see Roxanne Perez winning the championship. Sobrang nakakapanghinayang lang that Mandy Rose got released less than 24 hours after that. More thoughts on that on our last episode. If you want to listen on that before we go to the next episode here on the Bash Awards. Okay, so let's continue with AEW now. So, let's talk about some stuff. So, alam mo yun, they used the team of NBA doon sa kanilang intro. Ivan, I hope you're listening to this. I'm going to say what I said on Twitter yesterday. And thank you to Slick for bringing that up. Kasi sobrang natatawa ako on the way you brought this idea. Pero sobrang tangina. Ba't niruruin ng AEW yung fun when it comes to this concept? It sounds disgusting. Ayun, alam mo yun, yung okay sana kung ginamit lang nila to sa series ng Elite tsaka ng Dark tuloy. Nung Death Triangle. Okay sana kung doon lang nila ginamit. Pero yung ginamit nila sa buong show, anong klaseng gagaguhan to, man? It sounds disgusting to me to watch that, man. sobrang labo. The match itself, it sounds hindi ko maseryoso yung third tong match na to, the series. Hindi ko maseryoso. Kasi andito na tayo sa punto na nagsasawa na tayo. We can predict the future. Like, it's 3-1 now. And yours truly, it's not really expecting a title change. Hindi ako nag-expect masyado. Pero wala eh. We are going to the dark side and we're going to the stupid side of this series. And ang masasaklap pa, hanggang January pa natin pagtitiisan to. And ito so we have the remaining series now and they want no disqualification cases. So match 5 is a no DQ match. Match 6, if kailangan pa, it's gonna be a false count anywhere. If aabot ng game 7, which is match 7, it's gonna be escalera and whatever, putangin ng yan. Scandalo de escalera, kung naman tawag nila dyan, whatever. It's a ladder match for LA show. So, probably aabot sila dyan, for sure. You know, AEW is kinda stupid as they are. Alam niyo naman kung gaano katanga ang AEW when it comes to this kind of bookings. And we're going to get that booking too. Brilliant! Well done, Tony Khan. Well done. Sobrang hanga ako kay Tony Khan eh. Yung pagiging tanga-tangang booker, tsaka yung pagiging fanboy mo masyado, nadala mo sa promotion na to. So, sobrang tanga mo. Hindi mo na alam kung sino-sino yung dapat i-book o sino yung deserving na mabook sa sarili mong promotion. Ayun, nagkaletse-letse na roster mo. Yung iba nga, sobrang bulok na booking, binibigyan na lang ng ROH title runs. Ayan, si Athena, si Reclamador Athena, ayan, daming na-relegate sa ROH because of this Tony Khan booking because he is the booker of the year. Well done! Alam niyo, the way I see this graphic, hindi ko maseryoso to the point na, Tony Khan, ikaw na naman, putang ina mo. Hindi ko maseryoso to the point na sila Dave Meltzer din na nagbibigay nito. So, knowing Dave Meltzer, they are a WWE, anti-WWE, and pro AEW ever since. Kaya hindi na rin nakakagulat eh. Sa totoo lang. Continue tayo with our thoughts on Winter Is Coming. So, sobrang nakakayamot yung intro. Hindi ko pa rin malimutan. So, ayun. So, Jericho appeared to the ring. He wants a match. He called some jobber. So, action, Axe Liberty, whatever kung ano pangalan niya, Jabroni. Yes. Ayun. So, we have new star now in AEW. I guess, see you on Dark. See you on Elevation. Ay, nako. This is kind of booking na it kind of reminds me of MWF getting their they're getting their names in the MWF main roster, and I'm fine with this. However, parang ang ganda rin ng execution, in fairness to me. Ang problema ko lang, I feel sad immediately kasi alam mong hindi mo bubuk ng maganda eh. Kaya hindi na ako gaano nag-expect. Oh, dapat pa ba ako mag-expect? Ayan, yun lang naman sa akin. I don't see any problems on that. Pero sige, continue natin. So we have more matches. So we have si Ty Mello versus Ruby Soho. They settled their beef in a grudge match. And Ruby Soho defeated Ty Mello. I'm good with that. I hope they can finish the JASBCC thing. I don't need to see that match series shit. I'm tired with this. I'm glad this next subject doesn't have BCC versus JAS thing. So MJF defeated Ricky Starks for the title, and of course for the Diamond Ring on the main event. And okay, MJF missed okay pa rin naman si MJF so far. Pero yung promos na sa akin subpar na, medyo up and down na. So far, subpar pa din siya sa akin. At least, hindi magbabago yung take ko hanggat hindi ko maseryoso si MJF. Ayun na, sabihin ko na agad sa inyo. Malinaw na malinaw kung anong impression ko kay MJF. Mad! Yan lang naman. So, let's continue with our picks of the week para magdire-diretso na tayo on our Bash Awards on our next half. Kasi probably di tayo magko-commercial break right after this. So, picks of the week, we got Claudio Castagnoli for the Wrestler of the Week. Woman of the Week is, of course, Roxanne Perez. And our matches of the week, there's 3. Kasi sobrang ganda ng matches. Sobrang ganda ng mga matches on pro wrestling this week. So, first, we got FTR versus Briscoes from the Final Battle, the Gunnar match for the ROH Tag Titles. Second, the Josh Alexander versus Speedball 60-minute match for the Impact World Title. And third, take note, yung title match na yun was free on YouTube, by the way. Then, number 3 is the Iron Survivor Challenge for the men's at NXT Deadline. So, yun lang naman sa akin on the recap of the podcast. If you want to know more, syempre magpo-post pa din ako ng ganito sa platforms natin. Manonood pa rin tayo ng wrestling. And update ko pa rin kayo on everything wrestling on our social media platforms at the MTG Show Pod. We're going to take our commercial break. I think we're going to have one commercial break here on the podcast. Let's check our bunkmates here on Bunk Collective.
Picture this. 2 guys talking about true crime,
weird mysteries,
horror stories,
but the conversation is light
and mostly funny.
And sometimes naughty.
This is Cripsilog.
a Spotify exclusive.
I'm Gideon.
And I'm Glenn, and we're serving huge portions of horror and true crime twice a week.
We'll make sure your cravings are satisfied.
And you'll be begging for more.
Char.
Check us out.
This is Cripsilog, available exclusively on Spotify.
Bakit mabaho ang utot?
Lulubog na ba ang Pilipinas?
Mahihain ba ang makaya? Bakit bumabagyo sa Pinas?
Mga katanungang bumabagabag sa kaisipan ni Juan, halika, bigyan natin ng mga scientificong kasagutan. Ito ang inyong gurong lakan mula sa Bulacan, Sir Red. At ito ang Hainain na Tagham the Podcast Year 2. Pakinggan sa lahat ng major podcast streaming platforms. Tara, matuto, magsaliksik, magkaroon ng dagdag na kaalaman. Hainayan, magpakailanman.
Okay, welcome to the third annual Bash Awards 2022. As we continue the tradition of giving our best picks for the year, in this case, in the year of 2022, again, the guidelines of these picks as follows. So, susundin pa rin natin yung ating guidelines from last year. So, kailangan active yung superstar from January 1 to November 27. That's NXT and Survivor Series War Games. Sabihin ko sana NXT deadline. Ano ba? So, yun. So, from January 1 to November 27, 2022. And magka-qualify din dito if napapasama ka sa superstar of the week na pinopost natin every week here on the podcast. Then, yung mga matches was determined in the tournament. Yung tournament din natuloy. Kaya pinagsama-sama ko na lang. And we added some matches from the past few months, 4 months. September, October, November, and December. Hindi pala kasama December. So, August, September, October, and November lang. Tapos, ano pa ba? Activity, of course, championships, and many more. If nagugustuhan ko ba, o kung tumutugma ba yung mga binibigay nyo here on our poll. So, again, I want to thank everyone who participated in our Bash Awards voting. And syempre, maraming salamat sa inyong pagtitiwala here on the podcast. Let's start with our People's Choice categories as we go back to the tag teams. Okay? So, sige. Tag teams. Tag teams na tayo. So, total nandito tayo. So, let's start with the good times. Okay? So, mayroon tayong Tag Team of the Year here on the show. It's gonna be my pick, not the People's Choice, okay? Then after that, People's Choice na tayo. So, Tag Team of the Year, it's gonna be tough for me this year. This category was tough as fuck. And hindi ako nag-decide na gagawin ko din maala wrestler or woman of the year. Hindi ko siya ganoon kasi masyadong malayo ang gap for me. Masyadong parang andito yung isa. And hindi naglalayo-layo. Hindi sila naglalayo-layo totally. Pero based on the guidelines and for our terms, I think there's one team na nagtatop. And we are going to reveal that right now. Our tag team of the year on the Bash Awards 2022 is, drum roll please. Wait. Tama ba yung nakikita ko? That they are now 2-time Tag Team of the Year winner here on the podcast. Our Tag Team of the Year 2022 is none other than FTR. Guys, ito So, explain lang natin ng konti bakit FTR. Yep, I picked FTR in 2020 as well kasi I think 2020 definitely the year of FTR 2021. I think I picked Young Bucks. I'm not sure. Hindi ako sure kung 2 or 3 na to. Basta yun. Ito yung pangalawan ng win ng FTR here on our Bash Awards. Okay. So, ito pa yung honorables ko. So, of course, there's the Usos as well as there's, of course, di mawawala dito yung Briscoe. So, there's may honorable mentions for our tag team of the year. Okay. Let's continue with our Bonk return of the year. In context, why we inserted Bonk is I think that's a reference of my paradigm shift since I transferred here on Bonk Collective. So, our nominees for the Bonk return of the year is nasa WWE and AEW lang. Pero marami naman. Naglagay tayo dyan ng blank. So, you can choice or you can choose 1 or 2, whatever. Pero isa lang ang ating pipiliin. And medyo obvious siya at this point. So, our Bonk return of the year goes to... Abangan naman. Tumama rin. So, our Bonk return of the year is Cody Rhodes. Yeah, guys. I'm going to agree with this. Like, Cody, sobrang taas ng goosebumps ko when it comes to this Cody Rhodes return. And like, what the hell? Cody Rhodes definitely on the top of the food chain of that period until he got injured. Kinda sad. Well, wala tayong magagawa. That's life. Okay? So, Cody Rhodes is our Bonk return of the year. We will continue with our Bonk debut of the year. Marami din tayong categories, marami din tayong participants dito. But, the superstar na umangat para sa atin here on our Bonk debut of the year, actually dalawa ito, are... Okay, so nagbigay ako ng thought dito. Nagbigay ako ng bonus kasi sabi ko, I'm going to reveal 2. Pero isa lang yung lumabas sa ating People's Choice. So, unahin ko muna i-announce yung People's Choice natin. Our People's Choice of the year goes to... Logan Paul. I'm going to agree with this. Actually, sa totoo lang, mag-agree ako dito. One hell of a year for Logan Paul. That was good. Okay lang sa akin. That was a hell of a run by Logan Paul. Getting 2-1 on his career and proving that he can wrestle or he can welcome himself to the WWE. Sapat na yun sa akin. Pero hindi ako bumoto nito. It's by the people. So wala akong magagawa. Here's my choice. Sigurado mag-agree kayo dito. Dito? My Bonk debut of the year goes to Roxanne Perez. Para sa akin lang, siguro, tatanungin niyo ako, if may magandang year sa WWE besides Logan Paul, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, there's Roxanne Perez. From winning the women's title sa ROH, winning the NXT Breakout Tournament, winning the Iron Survivor Challenge match, nakalaban niya pa si Meiko Satomura. For me, that's a advantage na. That's a unforgettable one-year run for Roxanne Perez. No doubt, in the history of pro wrestling, ngayon lang tayo nakakita ng ganyan since I think AJ Styles in WWE. Ngayon lang tayo nakakita ng ganyan. So, our Bonk debut of the year are Logan Paul and Roxanne Perez. Okay, let's continue with our gimmick of the year. Voted by you guys, not me. But magka-agree rin naman ako dito. So, our gimmick of the year is ewan ko, parang, wait. Ewan ko, parang, mag-a-agree sana ako, pero, is this gimmick good? Okay naman, I love this gimmick. Para sa akin, it was a good gimmick. And to be fair, di rin ako kokontra if he won kasi it was chosen by you guys. Ito lang naman yung sa tingin ko nag-stand out para rin sa akin. Siguro kung may isa pang gimmick yung nag-stand out sa akin, it's gonna be it's Ganta. No? Okay. So, our gimmick of the year goes to Sami Zayn as the honorary. Oosh. Okay. Mag-agree ako dito. I'm agreeing on this. While I'm reading the papers, di kagaya ni Scott Steiner that he can't fucking read, I am going to agree with this. Okay? So, let's talk about the worst gimmick of the year. Okay. Okay. Ito, siguro naman, ako nang pumik nito kasi walang nag-i-stand out sa mga picks nyo. Pero pinagbasihan ko pa din yung mga picks doon sa People's Choice Awards natin. And sometimes that I can agree, sometimes it don't. Nag-pick kayo ng Chris Jericho, nag-pick kayo ng CM Punk, nag-pick kayo ng Nikki ASH, Honor No More, then there's a lot. Yung House of Horrors, whatever. But our worst gimmick of the year goes to Dancing Shanky. I don't know guys, wala akong pakialam sa gimmick na to. Hindi ko na pinapansin to. Pero sobrang natatawa ako on how this gimmick was. And how WWE executed this gimmick. It was whack as fuck. But, well, wala na rin yung gimmick. Shanky is on NXT. I hope na makuha niya na ulit yung kanyang piece sa NXT. Same with Beer, Sanga. I hope they can regain themselves back on TV. Okay. Of course, we are going to continue with our moment of the year. And this is gonna be big here on the podcast. Marami tayong moments this year in pro wrestling. WWE, AEW, New Japan, Impact Wrestling, Noah, Philippine Wrestling. Sama na natin. Pero there's one thing na nag-top on our People's Choice for this year's Bash Awards. So, the winner of our moment of the year is... Sasya na pumipiyok na ako. our moment of the year is Vince McMahon retiring from WWE. Okay, personally, mag-agree ako dito kasi Vince, wala na kailangang patunayan. Maraming balita na kumakalat na naman on you. Utang na loob. Huwag ka nang bumalik sa WWE. Stay retired. Matanda ka na. And magpahinga ka na. You deserve peace. You deserve rest. And harapin mo yung mga cases mo. Okay. Continue tayo with our worst moment of the year. None other than... Okay. Our worst moment of the year is... It's the Brawl Out on AEW All Out 2022 starring the best in the world, CM Punk. Wala guys, sa sobrang kagaguhan na CM Punk, na dedicate episode na yung All Out, 1 oras pa. So, ito yung ating worst moment of the year was the Brawl Out 2022 on AEW All Out. Sobrang kagaguhan nito. Lahat ng headlines ng AEW All Out, sinapawan mo. Okay, let's continue with our rivalry of the year. There's a lot of rivalries na tumaas and nagpataas ng ating stuff here in the WWE and AEW, New Japan Impact. But there's one rivalry na umangat sa ating lahat. Of course, nag-agree rin ako dito kasi I think this feud was on top notch when they introduced this on the company. So, our rivalry of the year goes to Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. Tama na yun. Ayaw naman na mag-drums. So, Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, mag-agree ako dito kasi I think on the way they executed the feud, mukhang makakatotohanan as well as they deserve the Hell in a Cell. Unfortunately for Cody, he got fucked up on training and he's still recovering. I wish him good luck on your recovery. I hope I can see you soon on the Royal Rumble, but you don't need to win. Okay, so let's continue with our stable of the year. We're going to reveal 3 more categories before we go to our commercial break. Okay, so first we have the weekly show of the year. Okay, so weekly show of the year. Ito, subjective ito. Para sa akin, subjective to. Tsaka yung worst, sobrang subjective ito. I will explain later sa worst kung bakit subjective. Our weekly show of the year goes to WWE SmackDown. Mag-agree tayo dito. Nung si Triple H na ang nagpapatakbo ng WWE. However, our worst weekly show of the year, sabi ko nga subjective ito. Kung sino man yung maano dito, wala akong magagawa. Subjective naman to. So, it depends on who answered the poll and it depends on who is watching pro wrestling as a whole. I'm not going to say Impact is the worst kasi, guys, pakatotoo na tayo. Walang worst dito sa mga 2-hour na weekly show ng lahat ng companies. AEW, Impact, AEW, WWE. Wala. Kasi maganda naman ang weekly show ng WWE. And even other companies, maganda rin. Pero there's one when I said there's one company who tops on the top. Okay. Our worst weekly show of the year is AEW Rampage. Gago. Para sa akin lang, ang AEW Rampage, mostly hit and misses. Maraming hit, maraming misses. Yun ang masasabi ko. Mag-agree rin ako doon sa lumabas sa poll. However, on Impact, medyo na-offend ako kasi Impact is really doing a really good job this year. Definitely one of the most consistent weekly shows of the year. You don't call companies worst pag hindi mo pinapanood. So, you need to do analyzation. You need to watch everything. And I know this is a subjective thing, but you need to compromise stuff. And definitely Impact doesn't compromise their products. Kung mayroon man nagko-compromise, it's Tony Khan. Yan lang yan. So, continue tayo. Before we go, our company of the year 2022, it's very obvious. We are going to give this to the biggest wrestling promotion on the planet, WWE. Well done for your year 2022. 2021, it was AEW. So, yeah, this is the first time WWE won this category on our Bash Awards chronology. Okay? So, we are going to take another commercial break and we will continue our Bash Awards 2022 and we are going to kick off this segment with our Philippine Wrestler of the Year. We're going to take our first and last commercial break here on the podcast as we check our bunkmates here on Bunk Collective.
Sales, profit, and engagement na naman ang usapan? Hey guys, Matt and Lance here. Corporate guys rin kami at pagod na rin kami sa ganyang usapang office. Ibahin naman natin ang mga kausap natin. Listen to guests from careers beyond the corporate scene with the Project Offbeat Career Podcast. Imagine talking to historians, gamers, teachers, and the like on how they live differently and succeed in their unconventional careers. Baka sakali, ito naman ang sign to pursue your passions. Kita-kits sa Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube.
Hey everyone, this is Mo Twister, and you're listening to the Kingdom Podcast with the voice DJ Yuki.
That was the OG, Mo Twister, promoting this podcast. If you like Korean pop culture, or know someone who does, then get into it, and visit our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages at the Kingdom Pod PH.
We're proud to tell you that this is one of the premier shows to go to for your weekly dose of K-pop. So drop everything and listen to the Kingdom Podcast. Available in all your podcast streaming platforms.
Join us!
Okay. We're back on the Bash Awards 2022. We are continuing stuff with our PH Wrestler of the Year. Yep, nagbalik ang Philippine Wrestling dito sa Pilipinas with MWF and then FPW made their comeback or made their debut in November 2022 from the ashes of PWR. World Underground Wrestling is partnering with MWF. So technically they are Forbidden Door right now. And FPW is a other company that does shows as well here. And they have 2 shows current as of today's recording. Our Philippine Wrestling Wrestler of the Year goes to our friend here on the podcast. We got the former PWR champion, the former MWF World Champion, Mr. Philippine Wrestling, Jake De Leon. Woo! Yeah, so para sa akin lang, he deserves this. Kasi on 1 year, hindi nga 1 year kung tutusin, on his tenure here, based on our period, for me, Jake De Leon proved everything. No? Marami nang napatunayan at papatunayan pa. And I hope in 2023, you will gain more. No? Sana makakuha ka pa ng championships and I hope you can represent our wrestling scene not only in the Philippines but in Southeast Asia as a whole. And yeah, again, congratulations to Jake De Leon for winning our Philippine Wrestling Wrestler of the Year. And I hope I can see you soon here on the podcast once again. Yeah. So, next, we have the... Ano pa ba? Let's go back to the regular programming. We got the Booker of the Year. It's very important kasi this is definitely a big debate in the internet right now. Malaking-laking debate ito na pinag-uusapan kung saan-saan at kung sino-sino din ang kanilang mga manok regarding this matter. Our Booker of the Year is... Ito wala to Flat slide to. Yes, the game Triple H. Okay, so Triple H won our Booker of the Year. I hope na hindi ka na kumuha ng sandamakmak na talent sa labas ng WWE kasi ang dami na you can release Braun again. Yun lang naman ang thoughts ko. So, yeah, congratulations Triple H for our Booker of the Year. So, Tony Khan is the Booker of the Year 2020-2021. Okay. So, let's continue with NXT Special. So, ito is gonna be crucial. Kasi we have two. No? Dalawa yung ating Booker of the Year. Dalawa yung Booker of the Year. Dalawa yung NXT Special of the Year. So, kumbaga, sabi ko nga, subjective ito. Magiging subjective tayo. Pero, sabi ko, magto-toss coin na lang tayo. Nag-toss coin ako behind the scene. And, sa tingin ko, magpapabor din naman kayo sa akin regarding on this. So, our NXT Special of the Year is... It's gonna be NXT Halloween Havoc. Ngayon, simplify na lang natin. For me, Halloween Havoc definitely tops NXT. Tawag dito. NXT Stand and Deliver as the best 2.0 show. Pero in the whole 2022, if isasama natin yung deadline, I can insert NXT deadline on my top 3. Pero hindi siya pang top 2 o kaya pang top 1 na premium live event of the year ng AEW. WWE. Okay? So, let's go to the premium live event and pay-per-view of the year 2022. Okay. This is very subjective. Di na ako magdi-drums. Masakit na kamay ko. So, our premium live event and or premium pay-per-view of the year goes to WrestleMania 38. Ito, naman, I can say na I agree on this. Night 1 and Night 2 matches wise. This pay-per-view wins over... di ko pa pwede sabihin na full gear. Kasi full gear is kinda, it is mahaba masyado. All out, di natin kailangan pag-usapan. So, safe to say, double or nothing. Okay, so, yun lang naman. Also, another candidate on the premium live event of the year was Clash at the Castle. And that was a really good pay-per-view too. Okay? Continue tayo with our match of the year 2022. There's a lot of matches happened in the company and the rest of the companies that we're covering here in this podcast. But umabot tayo sa punto na nag-tie and hindi ko na siya binrake the tie. Kasi I think both of the matches deserves praises from me, of course. Okay. So, our match of the year 2022 is R Gunter versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship at Clash at the Castle, and Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins from Hell in a Cell. Okay, well done both of the matches para sa akin. Ito rin, yung mga matches na nag-stand out throughout this year sa WWE. AEW, I can think a few, pero wala akong notes ngayon for AEW matches. I can think the Danielson versus Suzuki. I can think a lot of FTR versus maybe FTR versus Briscoes. There's a lot of matches this year that we can pick as match of the year. But here we are. We got 2 WWE matches. Continue tayo with our underrated wrestler of the year. Okay. So our most underrated wrestlers of the year are... Okay. So they are the current Impact World Champion Josh Alexander and the member of Alpha Academy Chad Gable. Wow. Like for real. These guys deserves our attention. You should watch Impact. Especially yung mga libre lang naman ng Impact sa YouTube. And also, you should watch and you should tune on Gable. Baka mamaya magka-push ulit yan. I hope they can get their praises coming soon. And yeah, let's continue with our celebrity match of the year. It's very obvious. I'm not going to do my drums. Masakit na kamay ko. Save it for last. So, our celebrity match of the year goes to the Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul from Crown Jewel 2022. I think wala namang magdi-disagree dito. That was a really good matchup from Crown Jewel. That was a surprise that I watched live. And definitely, that's a treat if you're looking for matches this year na nag-top and nag-superior in the WWE. Okay. Most overrated. Let's talk about the most overrated wrestler of the year. There's a lot of names in my mind. But there's one name na nagtatop on the list in our people's choice. And our most overrated wrestler of the year goes to CM Punk. Well done, CM Punk. Well done. Pagod na ako. So, we have 3 remaining categories for our The Bash Awards 2022. I think ito yung tinatawag natin na daysang when it comes to these terms of awards that we gave to our stars. Ito. So first thing, we want to acknowledge of the appearances na nangyari here on the podcast this year and sino-sino yung mga nag-appear dito on the podcast in the year of 2022. First, I want to acknowledge Derv for the Royal Rumble. Then, yung aking producer, si Yuki, nung Double or Nothing, si Troy, noong, tawag dito, I can't remember. Si Troy, nung last natin na episode with guest, si si JDL, Jake De Leon, si Nigel Santose, and of the people who being guest here on the podcast for this year. I want to acknowledge them all and you deserve a wonderful class for me. And I want to thank y'all for accepting our stuff here on the podcast and continuing our continuity here on the podcast. But we have one episode of the year that for me and for everyone na nag-top notch. And that episode goes to episode 121 featuring the former champion Jake De Leon. Woo! Actually that episode, despite of that, we recorded 2 episodes on that day. And both of us, GDL and ako, parehas kami may asikasuhin ng pagkatapos. So we have the quick interview and buti nga din na problema when it comes to the interviews. And I hope we can see GDL soon here on the podcast. Ayun, so I hope we can see the former champ here on the podcast. Maybe si Ken din. No, di nagkatuloy-tuloy yung kay Ken. But I hope we can see more Ken Warren and JDL here on the podcast in 2023. Okay. Let's talk about the crucial categories now. First, iinom lang ako mabilis lang. Good Lord. Our Woman of the Year. Ulitin natin. Guidelines. Activity. Championships. And picks of the week. Nagiging objective din yan. No? Again, subjective ito. Depende na lang ito sa inyong lahat. Kung sino yung magre-remain sa mga isip ninyo when it comes to this Woman of the Year category. This category is very important and for the wrestler of the year. This category is very important to all of the wrestlers and to all of the fans around the world. When you think about the woman, ito yung mga nag-stand out when it comes to that. In no particular order, we have Liv Morgan, Jade Cargill, Mandy Rose, Jordan Grace, Roxanne Perez, Shuri, and Bianca Belair. But there's one woman who top everything on this list. This is hard. This is subjective, we know. But our Woman of the Year woman. Tama pala. Woman. I'm telling myself all the time na man kasi woman is subject singular and the woman is singular and plural ng men. Tama. Basta whatever. Our Woman of the Year goes to... Okay. This is hard. I hope hindi kayo ma-offend sa akin. But if there's one woman na nag-top this year, 2021, it's going to be the current Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. Woo! Para sa akin lang, si Bianca naman, one big successful woman talaga eh. Wala akong masasabi sa kanya. Kung sino man yung nasa list na to, walang talo. I'm going to say may honorable mentions in order. So it's Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Mandy Rose, Cargill, Roxanne Perez, Jordan Grace, Shuri. Kahit pag sunod-sunurin mo yan, kahit i-jinx mo yan, para sa akin, all of them top their respective women's division. And they deserve respect for that. But when it comes to who are the best woman, I would say Bianca Belair. I would say Shuri all day. I would say Liv Morgan all day. Or Roxanne Perez all day. It's subjective. Pero, I decided to pick Bianca wise mas active, mas naging active siya kumpara sa iba. It's simple. So, again, subjective ito. And lahat naman ng minention kong names is, for me, kahit sino pwede kong i-insert. Kahit sino, kahit si Bianca, kahit si Liv, kahit si Mandy, kahit si Jade, Roxy, Jordan, si Shuri. Subjective ito. the end of the day. Okay? So, let's go to our final category of the year. This is our final category for this year's Bash Awards 2022. It's time for our Wrestler of the Year. Again, it based on our pointing system and our terms. Naglagay lang akong kating ko. Our Wrestler of the Year. First, we're going to mention the honorable mentions. But before that, let's mention 4 of them. Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, Will Ospreay, and Josh Alexander. Kahit sino sa apat na to, they're winning for me. Si Roman Reigns, top of the food chain, definitely. Will Ospreay, he improved himself in New Japan this year. Top notch siya. For me, at least for me, top siya in their division and their company. Definitely, it's Will Ospreay. Kasi naman yung umangat in New Japan. Josh Alexander, he brought his company on his back. And definitely, one of the best guys in the company. But, our Wrestler of the Year goes to Jon Moxley! Woo! Okay, Jon Moxley, no doubt, what a year. I know this is subjective, but what a year for Jon Moxley. And for me, it's, sabihin ko subjective naman. Kung sino yung ipipick ko on this category, it's very, very subjective. But I love Jon Moxley. I love all of them. Roman, si Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay on the top, definitely, when it comes to most improved. And Josh Alexander, bringing Impact Wrestling on his back, definitely deserves a phrase for me. Okay, so it's Jon Moxley, our Wrestler of the Year. And ayun na nga. So, that ends the Bash Awards 2022. And marami tayong dapat pasalamatan na maabot ako sa point na I'm still here. Yun, we're good. And ayun, I want to thank everyone who is listening to the podcast since the January episode, our Medyo Noche episode, until the end of our Season 4, Season 3 and Season 4 here on the podcast. Again, I want to thank Bong Collective, of course, for supporting me here on the podcast and pulling the strings of this show. If wala ang Bong, wala rin tayo dito. And without them, I think hindi nila masasalpa kung yung nangyari sa akin na nakaraan. No? Then, of course, I want to thank all of the listeners, subscribers, supporters, sa mga nagfa-follow ng podcast na to. I want to thank you all sa lahat ng nakalagay sa kanilang Spotify Wrapped. Kung napakita nyo man o hindi, I want to thank all of you for supporting this podcast and of the followers, raters, yung mga nagre-rate dito ng podcast nila, 5 stars sa podcast platforms nila. I want to thank you all for supporting this small podcast, one of the best podcasts in the Philippines, the MTG Show Podcast. And, of course, to all of the guests na naging part nitong podcast na to, I want to thank you all. I hope I can do another episodes together with you guys. I'm not going to mention names again. I hope that it will not be the last time na magkakausap-usap tayo. I hope that we can meet in person. Sana makamit ko kayo in person dito kahit saan, Manila o sa kahit saan man, makaabot tayo doon. And aside from that, I want to thank all of the podcast na napuntahan ko this year and all our friends in this podcast scene. I want to thank Kayfabe Cafe, Wrestling Podcast, Wrestling After Work, syempre, This Drunken Midnights, The Kingdom Podcast, yung, ano pa ba? Mga iba pang podcast in the Philippines, yung Turning Hill Podcast ni Troy, sa Troy Gonzalez, and the rest of our friends in the local scene. But thank you very, very much for bringing our flag in our Philippine wrestling scene. Yun lamang para sa akin. And Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll see you next year for our new season of the MTG Show Podcast. A wrestling podcast. Thank you. Di mo mag-goodbye. Putangin na. Di tayo mag-goodbye kasi magtitake lang ako ng vacation. Pahinga lang. I deserve rest as well. So, I guess see ya next year for more podcasts here on the MTG Show Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media at the MTG Show Pod. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel at the MTG Show Pod. And of course, our gank still available, ganknow.com/the MTG Show Pod. As low as $1 a month, you can support us on Gank. And you can subscribe as well via GCash as your mode of payment. For more podcasts, visit our website, thebunkph.com. You can support us as a collective on Bank Collective, of course, here on all of the social media platforms, all of our podcasts as well at the Bank PH. Join our Discord server for Bank Collective for more wrestling discussions and the rest of the bunkmates. This DSC the GG/bunk. Then support the MT Show Podcast and listen to our podcast every week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, the rest of the podcast platforms, and on the podcast app. And follow me on social media. We will continue our wrestling podcast and our feeds on all of the social media of the platforms of the podcast. While this podcast is on hiatus, we're going to continue on our stuff on wrestling probably until second week of January. We'll see you soon and support Manila Wrestling Federation. I upload na yung MWF Noche Buena starting next week. So if you want to support the wrestling scene, here's the option. Please support Manila Wrestling Federation, ManilaWrestling.com, and FPW. If magkakaroon na sila ng show by January, I hope that you can support them as well on their events. And of course, Woo, World Underground Wrestling. That's it for our The Bash Awards 2022 in cooperation with Pong Collective for the last time in 2022. This is the MTG Show Podcast. I'm Angelo Penera. I'm thanking you guys. Stay safe, stay wrestle. See ya in 2023. And goodbye. Thank you.